This. What? Hey, I didn't know we already started. I was going through all this immigration document process, and what a paper chase this is. My name's Terry Carlisle with Howler Magazine, publishing Costa Rica to the world since 1996. We got another episode with Quadro Legal and Debbie, the expert in all things that you need to know and how Quadro Legal can help you. We also have another special guest today because the immigration process is another thing that if you ask on Facebook, you'll get a variety of answers. You ask a variety of people, you'll get a lot of different opinions and what people did. It's great to hear it from the truth. Debbie, what can we expect from this episode?
Hi, Terry. I hope you're doing great today. It's so good to see you again. And thanks for having us on the Howler Magazine webinar series. Today, we are going to talk about the paper chase, and that is just what it is. It can be really confusing, and for a lot of people, really seem overwhelming because it can be a lot of documents. And so today we decided to go to another expert, and this expert is Melissa DiNardo. Melissa has a company called Legalize.docs. What they do is she has a team of professionals. They are all professionals in document procurement, which is a fancy word for getting all your documents together and making sure that they're ready to come to Costa Rica. You know, just about anybody can get a document, and just about anybody can put it in DHL to be sent to Costa Rica, but not just about anybody can get that right because there are so many mistakes that can be made along the way. And the last thing you want to do, because these documents are only good for 6 months, so you don't want to get the documents wrong and have your application denied or have to start all over. So Melissa's here to help us learn more about that today. They do the apostille process, they do authentication, they do essentially everything somebody's going to need to get whatever documents they're going to need for immigration in Costa Rica, and maybe some other reasons that you would need documents as well. They do all the hard work, which is great, because then that will let expats focus on their new life in Costa Rica. So Melissa, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming today.
Oh, thank you so much, Deb. Thank you so much, Terry, for having me. It's quite an honor to be here with your community and to help guide expats on how to, make their new life as graceful of a transition as possible. And that's what we do here at Legalize.docs. So it's an honor.
So why exactly, Melissa, did you start your organization?
Oh, that's a great
question. Isn't this something can I just read through all the documents myself and do it, or why did you create it? I can?
You can.
I don't know if I got the time.
So I used to work for a law firm as basically a sales agent in Costa Rica while I still lived in Canada. And this law firm was having a really hard time obtaining specifically Canadian documents. And the document company that was connected with that law firm, the owner asked me if this is something that I could look into and if I could do. And I said, absolutely. I would love to look into this and see if this is something that I could be the solution for. And the further that I started to delve into the process, I realized this is something that not only can I do, but I can excel in based on the resources that I do have back in Canada. So not only are we just a document company, but we can also obtain RCMP checks for expats when they're not in Canada, or expats who are not in the United States where we wanted to get their FBI reports. We have lawyers on staff, accountants on staff, so we're able to also do power of attorney witness of signatures when the client is not in Canada and they need to have a document not only witnessed but notarized and apostilled. So these are things that a lot of people have a lot of issues with. And instead of them coming back to Canada and paying for a plane ticket and then having to wait, we're a full document concierge business where we can do it all for the client and they don't even have to be in Canada or in the United States, which is a bonus.
Wow. What are some of the typical misunderstandings or misconceptions that expats seem to have about this paper chase?
So Canada just joined The Hague on January 11th, 2024, and the United States has been in The Hague. So when we're going to talk about Canada specifically, at one point, they had to get a document authenticated, legalized, and then it had to go into Costa Rica, go to the Yellow House, and be submitted and registered there prior to translations. And if a document had to be notarized prior to the authentication, then that was 3 steps, as opposed to where we now just do the 1 step, which is the apostille, whether it's federal or provincial, or it needs to be notarized and then apostilled, which is 2 steps. One of the main things that clients have, a misunderstanding is where do you get it apostilled, right? So if it's a birth certificate, marriage certificate, school transcript, something that's notarized, those documents need to be apostilled on a provincial level. Whereas if you have the RCMP, that's a federal document and only can it be done on a federal level. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you went from ... to ... or ...
Basically. So it's way easier, but you still need to know where to send it. You need to know the timelines, and you need to know, you need to have a document plan. Some documents take so long to procure and have apostilled, especially in the United States, right? So you don't want to start all of the documents at the same time. And one of the things that we do for our clients is that we make a custom plan for them so that when they actually submit their documents, everything is valid at the same time. If you have one document that is expired because they only have a 6-month lifespan or a 3-month lifespan if they're applying for citizenship, then you need to make sure that every single document is valid. If it's not, you have to start all over again. And that's when they find me and they're like, I wish I found you sooner.
So instead of me doing this, I can just contact you. Wow. When we talk about Canadians, what's the biggest challenge of them trying to get all their documents, especially if they're out of the country? How can you help with that situation?
Okay, we have 2 provinces that are the largest challenge that I see, and we do offer a solution. But if you want to prevent this prior to leaving Canada, this is how you would do it. Order your birth certificate or your marriage certificate from Alberta or Quebec. If you are not physically in those provinces, you will need a lawyer to notarize the application, which we can do for you.
Wow.
We charge you a lot of money, or you can just order it before you leave. Now, please remember that the marriage certificate only has a 6-month lifespan. So if you're going to order it, you got to act fast now on everything else, because if not, then you have to do it all over again.
Okay, so it sounds like you can get all the information, tell us what the timelines are, do all the legal. What other countries? What can you do for Americans or any other countries that you can support?
So we do have a Florida location, and we are able to procure an apostille. Now, every state is basically like a different country in the United States. Every state has their own laws and their own dance, basically. So we offer a hybrid program for the United States. Specific states, let's say New York will take you 6 months to have your birth certificate procured. Meaning, do not go get your FBI if you're still waiting for your New York birth certificate. Don't get anything else until you have that in your hand prior to sending it out for apostille, or else everything is now expired, right? California, Illinois, Texas, there's specific states that if you need me to procure or obtain your birth certificate or marriage certificate, I'd like to do it with you on the phone so that you can actually give them permission for me to act on your behalf. And then that way you do not need an application notarized. Because if you need your application notarized and you're in California, or sorry, you're in Costa Rica, you then have to get the application notarized by the U.S. Embassy.
Yep.
Yay! Who wants to go to the city?
Debbie, with quadrilegal, what do you see as the number one obstacles for expats or U.S. people gathering their documents? I mean, why does it seem that some people can get documents quick and others it's like a needle in a haystack? Why is that?
Well, some of it is going to be where you were born. And Melissa touched on that a little bit. Since COVID, some states have become very difficult to get documents. And so it can take a long time. Many people don't think about the documents. They don't plan it ahead of time before leaving very long. And so it becomes, quite the paper chase trying to figure out like, well, I can order the document. I have it sent to my sister Mary, who maybe can then send it to be apostilled. Oh my goodness. And when it comes back, it's got to go to Costa, and people, it's more expensive. It's like any service, right? If you're going to have somebody else do this service for you, it's going to be more expensive because someone has to gather the documents and process the documents and make sure they get where they're supposed to be. Some people don't want to spend that, and so they want to do it on their own. And that's fine, but you've got to know the rules and how long it's going to take you. You've got to be okay with that because one of the number one things that happens to people, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to just in the last month, something was wrong with their application and immigration and it got back. They had either, tried to do it alone to go to immigration. They had an attorney who didn't understand about the documents or something. And so they can't satisfy. You essentially get this letter from immigration, a notice that says, hey, you have a deficiency, right? You have like so many days to get it. It doesn't matter how long they gave you to get it. Even if you were sitting in the United States, you wouldn't be able to get it apostilled and get it back to Costa Rica. So you have to start all over again, which is expensive, So it's really important to get it right and to understand, what you're doing. It sounds very simple to get an FBI check and a birth certificate and a marriage certificate. But if you don't have someone like Legalize That Doc or somebody doing that for you, they're going to notice, oh, hey, these names don't match for the woman, right? I've got this name here, but she was born this other name, and how did she get there, right? All of a sudden, there's another document needed, right? You need to know that on the front side of that. Somebody's got a little misdemeanor, right, on their FBI check that comes back. Somebody's got to look at that, and then that may mean that they need to go and get a copy of the file at the courthouse that happened. That means there's got to be a certified record. It's going to have to be apostilled or authenticated or legalized or whatever term for that country, right? And it's going to have to come to Costa Rica. It's got to be translated. So there's a lot of things, and 6 months is not a big window. And so I think that's it, and I think a lot of it is a money concern with folks.
Can I touch on something? I'd like to touch on the name change because you did a great topic, point right there, especially with women. But I have had a client who was married 5 times, and this woman changed her last name every time. Instead of me charging her for all of these marriage certificates and divorce letters and have them all apostilled, we were very creative, and we actually had one of the lawyers on staff write an affidavit, and we had all of the proof in front of the lawyer to show the dates and the name changes, just to create that timeline so that when this client presented their file to immigration, the name that they were born with, if it does not match the name on your passport, you need to prove that paper trail. And a wonderful woman taught me this one. And if you don't show all of the steps that your name has changed, you could be either denied or have the extension. But as of June, I was told that Costa Rica immigration has no longer been granting extensions anymore, and they're just now denying applications. Is that true, Deb?
That seems to be a hot topic of discussion. I think the biggest issue for them is, today, tomorrow, I don't know for sure, but there has been a lot of topic and discussion about that. There have been some posts on Facebook about that. I think the bottom line is that when you turn in an application now, it needs to be complete. What happened back, COVID, post-COVID, and all that time is that people were turning in, essentially a permission slip, nothing with it, just to get an expediente number so that they could show they were in process. And then every now and then somebody would go throw something in the file, and then things expire. I mean, it was kind of not very good at the time because of COVID. It was kind of, I think, a game people were playing. And unfortunately, that game has caught up with a lot of people. A lot of people have died, and that's one of the reasons why it's so important to have a really great immigration attorney, because they're going to make sure before they turn in that application that everything is have attorneys that don't do that, and they don't really, watch essentially the paper trail. I think that's exciting that you were able to do that. I've had people in the past years ago that, they just went to the courthouse and changed their name. It was $75 fee. And they were super cheap. Everything matched because Costa Rica doesn't understand name changing for women, and so and we like to change. We change our names. We change our hair. So it's good. There's another avenue than just changing your name to do that, and it's essentially like an affidavit of consent. So it's great they took that.
So a lot of times, and we mentioned Facebook a couple times, it takes just one person to have a bad experience in their immigration process. And of course they have to tell everybody. And if you didn't hear them the first time, they will remind you. And it's awful for everyone. It sounds like, because it's something I'll be looking to myself, that there's experts out there, and quadro legal. You're here in Costa Rica. The laws they do get talked about. They do get changed, altered. You're up to date on that. Melissa and her team stay on top of all those things. So there's professionals available to cut out all the Facebook chatter and all that, and to make the process as smooth and painless as possible.
Right.
That's what y'all can do, right?
Yeah, right. And the Facebook thing is confusing a little bit. It's the same as like if somebody goes to a party, and somebody there that's a doctor, they just, they'll just quiz them, but at least they're asking a doctor. On Facebook, they're just asking the world, like, what do you know? Like, hey, what do you know? Well, we all know something about something, right? And so they never get a good answer. They don't get a detailed answer, right? And what's frustrating is, like, for us, all they have to do is fill out a little form on the website, and I'm going to get a hold of them. I'm going to make sure that they get an answer to their question, and understand what they need to do. The other day I had a fella that, he'd gotten one of these notices. He only had so many days. I got a hold of him immediately to talk to him, and it turned out fine because he did it all himself. He figured that he might get declined, and he really needs to be in a different category. So it all is a good story all the way around, right? But we'll talk to you as a complimentary help. So why wouldn't you just get a hold of an attorney, find out nobody's, it's not a hard sell, like, oh, you got a hold of us, it isn't that. What I care about is that people understand, that they know what's going on, that they know the ins and outs and the process, because sometimes somebody thinks that they should do this, but they should do that, or they should at least consider some other ideas. But if you're doing that on Facebook, you're going to get 200 answers. You're going to get everybody, in all parts of the world, everybody knows an attorney, right? So you're going to get all kinds of people They're going to give you references and referrals and things. And a lot of these attorneys don't do immigration very often. They may not do it as a side because they do some real estate. The other day, I talked to somebody who had paid the real estate attorney to do their immigration a year ago. They still don't have any application turned in, right? So just stop the madness. If you have a question, just message me. I will do my best to find somebody with the answer, because we should have all the immigration answers. And if you have something that's unusual, we'll try to find the answer to that too. But it's okay to talk to your friends on Facebook, but don't really use that. It's not even a Wikipedia. It's just a cooling of everybody's opinions and thoughts, right?
Actually, what I like to tell my clients or the people that call me is that you can dance with anxiety. I choose not to dance with anxiety, so that when we take a client on, we make sure that all of the documents will be valid when you are submitting, and that you can actually stand behind your application knowing that you're not missing anything. And
Right.
I don't know a single person who wants to dance with anxiety. That's not my style. If I know that a specific timeline, let's say it will take longer than 3 months for the RCMP check to actually be completed, I tell my citizenship clients, not yet. Wait, I'll tell you when. And then as soon as I know that that window has opened where the processing is now going and we can actually submit your documents on time, let's go. Now we can move forward. Because I'm not going to take on a file that I know will not be completed on time. Right? And if I don't know all of the information, and I talk to Deb all the time, I'm like, hey Deb, what about this? What are the rules, or what are the new things? And I talk to all of my lawyers, I want to be in the know because it's always changing. Something that happened in January is no longer the case in September. So what are the changes?
Oh.
Yeah. Well, and people on Facebook don't keep up with that. All the time there's things, about, this is totally different offshoot of it, but I know I have to get, for an investor visa, I have to have $200,000. It's it hasn't been that for 2 years, but Facebook and everything doesn't keep up. Some people don't keep their even people who do immigration law. I can't tell you how many times, because I like to look and see what other people are doing, right? They've got stuff on there that's not right anymore. Rentista is a perfect example. That has changed light years, night and day, than what it was. And so, but almost no one has changed their websites. So everybody now thinks, well, I just can come down there with $60,000. No, you cannot. So you really need to talk to somebody and not get all your news. I don't want to call it news, but all your opinions. Don't get all your opinions from Facebook.
Well, it sounds like, Melissa and Debbie, that all this stuff I can throw that way, and all I need is just one sheet that has 3 web addresses. And those 3 web addresses would be to contact Melissa and Quadro Legal, and also howlermag.com.
Right.
Thank you for joining us. There's a lot of dependable information out there, and this episode certainly will help you with that immigration process, so you don't get choked up and bogged down with all the paper. Let the professionals do it. It's worth the investment. Thank you for joining us, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Terry. We'll look forward to seeing you again.
Y'all too. Pura vida.
Bye. Ciao.